At this point, there's only one person to blame for the Lakers fiasco. It's only one person to blame for the Lakers operation, which has been a failure up until this point so far. You could look at a lot of people on the team, You can look at the players. Each and every player on the team is at fault when they don't win. And I definitely understand that, because what you put out there on the floor and what you present, what you put out there on display is what you have. And that's what represents you as a team. And right now, every player on the Lakers just doesn't seem comfortable. And honestly, when you look at how all the players gel, or if you want to call it that, they really don't, because everybody is good individually at their own thing. And it's just not enough chemistry to go around to help LeBron at his age sustain winning and keeping this team afloat. It's like when they play against the good teams, they look really, really stagnant. They look really, really confused, and they just don't look like they're a cohesive unit. They don't look like a unit where you can say this is a Lakers team of old or a Lakers team of the past, where they may not have a Kobe Bryant or they may not have, the players that Kobe Bryant had or the players that Magic had, but they got players that understand the operation and the system, and they got players that understand the legacy behind our team, which makes them play with more pride than any other player out there on any other roster. Because when you look at when they won the championship in the bubble, they had players like KCP. They had players like Rondo. Rondo was out of his prime to me ever since, that time going forward. But they had a bunch of role players just as they do now. Kyle Kuzma's, people like that. And even still, those type players, they weren't the most consistent. They weren't the best, but they played with more confidence. They played with more energy. They played with a second gear. They played with another gear. And when you look at this team right here, they don't play with that other gear. They don't play with that type confidence. They play like they're confused. They play like they don't know what they're supposed to be doing when they're on the court. And, they're following their leaders. And when you look at one of their leaders, which is one of their best top 3 players on the team, Russell Westbrook, he is wearing off on a lot of players. And then there's some nights where it looks like he wears off on LeBron James, because LeBron has some costly turnovers at times himself, in which before in the past, he never would have these type turnovers if he wasn't playing with a Russell Westbrook. And, you look at Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis hasn't been a top 10 player, seemed like, since the bubble. I mean, everybody anointed him and put him up there when they won the championship, but people forgot Anthony Davis is very injury prone, and Anthony Davis is a roller coaster, up and down type player. When he was in New Orleans, he was putting up all of them good numbers, but injuries always plagued him. And then when he, would score and put up a lot of points, a lot of times, it didn't amount to anything because New Orleans wasn't a winning team. But you have to look at it like this. Anthony Davis, he has his moments and where he can do a lot of good things, but he has his moments where he's just lackadaisical, where he's just, he seems like a non-factor to a degree. And even in New Orleans, he had some of those moments when they had Boogie Cousins. I think they had Rondo, I believe. Even then he's had those moments, But that's just throughout his career so far, how he's been. He's very up and down. He's very injury prone. So I never really, looked at him as one of those top players. But I always knew he had the potential, and he's definitely a top 10 player in regards to his potential, because he has a lot of that, and his talent is very, very high. But the point is, it's not helping the Lakers win now. Even when he was in the lineup a couple weeks ago before he got hurt, they weren't winning. They were losing the way they are now, pretty much. So, it's not like what he has is helping. So, they need either something different from him, more from him, or they need to look elsewhere in regards to maybe even looking into acquiring somebody else for the team. But the point of the whole situation is, when you think about how this team is, there's only really one person to blame. And the only person you could blame is LeBron James. LeBron James basically runs this operation, and everybody knows that. It's no secret. He basically is the GM. He's basically the owner of the Lakers now, to a degree, because he basically makes all the decisions. When you think about it, the only person really to blame and to take the fall for this is the king, because you wanted Russell Westbrook. Nobody told you go get Russell Westbrook. If you see every other team that the Lakers are trying to trade him to, nobody wants Russ. Honestly, right now, I don't even know if the Lakers can trade Russell Westbrook, because no other team wants him. He's a headache. He's a problem. And like I said, he's a turnover machine. And when you have those type of things, you're not going to put yourself in potential to win. Teams, if they're struggling, they might as well just, in their mind, they might as well stay the way they are and keep struggling. Why bring somebody else aboard and struggle more than what you already are struggling now? You might as well just continue struggling the way you are until you develop your players or find a better trade teammate out there that can help your team work. And this is what I'm saying. It's hard for even the lower seeded teams probably to take Russell Westbrook from what they're seeing, but definitely the Lakers are trying to trade him to a better team so they can get a better player. That's going to be hard to do because who really wants Russell Westbrook? Nobody. And this is the reason why I said before, it falls on LeBron because they had an opportunity to go get Buddy Hield. And Buddy Hield, I thought, would have been a way better fit for their operation, their team, rather than a Russell Westbrook, because Anthony Davis and LeBron is really all they need. They don't even really need a third superstar. They just need those two. And they just need a bunch of good role players that can space the floor with shooting and, have some good rebounding bigs in the paint when they, just to get extra offensive rebounds and give them extra possessions so they have more opportunity to score. And they have that with Anthony Davis. They have that with Dwight Howard. You see what I'm saying? They have that type of, and then they got DeAndre Jordan too. Whenever they decide to play him, he can get a couple rebounds still, even though I think he's trash, but he still can get you about maybe 8-10 rebounds if you play him long enough in a game where he can make an impact that way, or maybe he can go get an alley or something like that and dunk it. But I'm just saying, you have size in the paint as well to get extra rebounds and things like that. So I mean, you don't really need a Russell Westbrook. The way the Lakers are built up, they don't really need a big three. They just need LeBron and AD and an extra shooter that they really can trust. And like I said, if LeBron would have pulled the trigger and told them, maybe the front office, to go after Buddy Hield, I think that's what they would have done. But he wanted to get Russell Westbrook. He wanted to basically prove to the world that a lot of people can't win with Russ, but I can. But now the only problem is he's starting to see that's not feasible. That's not possible, because Russ is just a turnover machine, and Russ' bad habits are just wearing off on you and the rest of the team. And now you're finding yourselves in the 8th or 9th seed, not even knowing whether you're going to make the play-in tournament. And now you don't look like the team that everybody projected you to be before the season started, which was a championship team, because everybody had the Lakers going to the finals along with the Nets. And not saying that still can't happen, because it's possible that it can. I just don't believe that it will. And when you look at the team the way they are, I don't see a championship type team. I don't see a team who can win a championship when you can't even beat the Sacramento Kings. You went 3 overtimes with them about 3-4 weeks ago. Now you lose to them again the other night. And it's just really pathetic basketball they're playing, because one thing they don't have any defense. I mean, you can put up points, but if you can't stop anybody, it really doesn't matter the type of points you're putting up if you can't stop anything, because it just makes you a one-dimensional team. It makes you neutralized, and it doesn't make you a championship contender. And it definitely makes you vulnerable when you play high superior teams who have a lot of offense and who's more well-rounded than you are. It just makes you look incompetent. And that's the way the Lakers look against a lot of teams. I mean, think about it. The Lakers lost to a Clippers team a few weeks back, about a month back, with no Kawhi Leonard and no Paul George. Like, there's no way that should happen if you have 3 superstars, or hell, not even 3, just 2 superstars on the floor. There's no way that should happen. There's no way Luke Kennard should be the player of the game and the Clippers come out with the victory over a team like the Lakers, who got all this star power and everybody put them in the finals, but they can't even beat a team without Kawhi and PG, which makes you think if Kawhi and PG was there, they wouldn't have a chance, right? So, I mean, hey, shout out to Luke Kennard for that game. That was a big game by him, but at the same time, this is my point. They're losing the teams they shouldn't, and the chemistry's not there. And nobody wants to point the finger at LeBron, but he's the only one to point the finger at, because he's the only one that helped this operation get put together. It was because of him. It was his idea. And hey, his idea is backfiring on him. He's putting up all these great numbers and MVP caliber type numbers, but it's not equating to winning. And LeBron knows himself. If it's not about winning, it's not about anything, especially when you put that purple and gold on. And that's just the way it is. So when you put on that jersey, it's about winning championships. It's not about anything else. So if they don't find a way to piece this thing together, or make a trade, or find a way to get Russ out of there, or find a way to get Russ, put him in the second unit instead of letting him be in the starting lineup, which I don't know if he'll be cool with that. But at the same time, you got to find a way to make this thing effective, because if you don't, the season is tanking for them pretty quickly, and they're going to have to find a way to make vast moves, vast decisions, because if they don't, like I said, they'll find themselves either in the play-in tournament possibly, or maybe even out the playoffs. And hey, I know they're hoping that Anthony Davis can come back and be the savior, but like I said, it depends on when Anthony Davis comes back. If he comes back with the mindset of he wants to be a winner and go out there and play like he's supposed to, they might have something. But if he comes back to Anthony Davis, he has been these last 2 seasons, well, they're not going to go far. And I can tell you, they're not going to go beyond the first or second round the way they're playing right now, with the way Russell Westbrook is playing as well, which is pretty awful. But hey, that's my take on the situation. You leave any comments in the comment section. You let me know what you think, as always. And hey, Khaliis out.